Imagine you wake up tomorrow and there's no date. No calendar on the wall, no phone telling you it's Tuesday, no app reminding you a season is about to change. You don't know if today is the 5th day of the month or the 20th. You don't know how many days are left before winter arrives. You don't even know how old you are. Now here's the terrifying part. Your entire survival depends on timing. Plant your crops too early, and frost kills them. Too late, and there's no harvest before winter. Migrate with the herds a week too late, and your people starve. So how did ancient humans know when to do anything? Without a single calendar to guide them? Stay with me, because the answer is written across the sky itself. Let's start with the assumption almost everyone gets wrong. People imagine ancient humans just guessing, randomly planting seeds, randomly hoping for rain, living in complete confusion about time. That's not what happened, because here's the truth. Time didn't disappear without calendars. It was hiding somewhere else entirely, somewhere ancient humans learned to read with terrifying precision: the sky. Think about it. Long before anyone wrote a single number on paper, the sun was already rising and setting in a pattern. The moon was already growing and shrinking in a cycle. The stars were already shifting their position, night after night, season after season. Nothing about this was random. It was the most reliable clock ever built. And nobody built it. It was just there, waiting to be understood. But understanding it wasn't simple. And that's where the real mystery begins. Because imagine you're standing outside, thousands of years ago, staring up at that same moon every night. At first, it just looks pretty, meaningless. Until you notice something impossible to ignore. The moon isn't just changing shape randomly, it's repeating. Full, then shrinking, then dark, then growing again. Over and over, like clockwork. How long does that take? Roughly 29.5 days. And once someone noticed that pattern, everything changed. Because now you have something you never had before. A way to count, not days randomly piling up into nothing, but days grouped into a repeating cycle. A moon, a month, long before anyone called it that. This should have solved everything. It didn't, because here's the twist almost nobody expects. The moon told you about days and weeks, but it completely failed to tell you the one thing that actually kept people alive: when the seasons would change. And that failure could kill an entire village. Picture this. You've been tracking the moon carefully. You count 12 full cycles, believing a full year has passed. You plant your crops based on that count, but something's wrong. The weather doesn't match what it should. Frost comes early, or the rain doesn't arrive when it always has before. Why? Because the moon's cycle and the sun's yearly journey don't line up perfectly. 12 moon cycles add up to about 11 days short of a full solar year. 11 days might not sound like much, but stretch that error out year after year, and eventually your planting season, tracked only by the moon, drifts completely out of sync with the actual seasons. Spring planting slowly creeps into what should be deep winter. Entire harvests could fail, simply because the calendar system itself was quietly lying. So now there's a much bigger problem. If the moon can't be fully trusted, what can? This is where ancient humans made one of the most brilliant discoveries in the story of civilization. They stopped watching the moon alone, and they started watching the sun's position on the horizon. Here's what they noticed. Every single day, the sun doesn't rise from the exact same spot. It shifts, slightly north, then slightly south, across the horizon throughout the year. In summer, it rises further north, in winter, further south, and on 2 specific days each year, the sun rises from almost the exact same point, marking the longest day and the shortest day of the year. We now call these the solstices. And once ancient humans identified these fixed points, time suddenly became solid again, reliable, something they could build their entire lives around. This is why some of the most mysterious ancient structures on Earth exist at all. Structures precisely aligned so that on one specific sunrise each year, light passes through a narrow opening and strikes an exact point inside, not by accident, not by coincidence, by design. Imagine the scale of that achievement. No telescopes, no written mathematics as we know it today. Just decades, maybe generations, of careful observation, passed down person to person until the pattern was locked in stone. These weren't just buildings, they were calendars, frozen in place, built specifically so no future generation would ever lose track of the year again. But here's where the story gets even bigger. Because tracking the sun and moon solved planting and harvesting, it didn't solve something else entirely, something just as dangerous. Knowing exactly how much time had passed since something important happened, a trade agreement, a war truce, a debt owed to another family or tribe. Without a written date, how do you prove how long ago something occurred? How do you settle a dispute about who promised what? and when. This is where ancient civilizations invented something remarkable: counting systems using knotted cords, notched sticks, or carved tally marks. Physical objects representing days, moons, or events that couldn't be argued with. A knot for every day, a notch for every completed moon cycle. Physical, undeniable proof of time passing agreed upon by everyone in the community. Slowly, these separate tools, moon cycles, sun positions, tally counts, began merging into something bigger: structured systems. Early calendars, built not on guesswork, but on generations of patient sky watching. And this is the moment where something remarkable happened to humanity itself, because once people could reliably predict time, they could plan ahead, not just react to survival day by day, but actually prepare for what was coming. Store food before winter arrived, not after. Organize festivals tied to harvests. Coordinate entire communities around shared, predictable events. Time stopped being something that simply happened to people. It became something they could master, and that mastery didn't just help farmers or builders. It became the invisible foundation underneath trade, religion, government, agriculture, nearly every major structure of civilization that followed. All of it traces back to a group of humans, thousands of years ago, standing outside at night, staring up at a sky with no instructions attached, and refusing to look away until they understood it. The next time you glance at your phone to check the date, remember this. Somewhere, thousands of years ago, someone stood beneath that same moon with absolutely nothing to guide them. No numbers, no calendar, no app, and instead of giving up, they looked up. They turned the sky itself into the very first calendar humanity ever had. You're not just reading a date on a screen, you're reading the answer to a question our ancestors spent generations trying to solve.